All right, awesome. All right, we are officially live. Hello, all. Welcome. I am super excited you are here today. So, you are in a elementary general music lesson. So, to begin, I am going to go over just a couple of things before we get into the actual lesson. But if you are here in Zoom, you have been the chosen ones who are going to participate as students today. So, there may be some singing involved out loud. Don't panic though, there is no judgment. I am much more a band person than a singing person, so we're all here to support each other and learn. Okay, so who am I? My name is Michelle Rose, and I currently teach at a full-time K-12 virtual school. So before all of this was happening and schools were closing, I was already writing what you all are being asked to do right now. So I am really happy to share my expertise. I understand how overwhelming it was, or is. I was first transitioning into virtual schooling and trying to wrap my mind around it. I was also completely overwhelmed. I felt like I was drowning, so I'm here to try to help you out, to help you feel a little less so. Right now, I teach 8th grade general music and high school music appreciation. I also teach the extracurricular virtual band / orchestra and choir. If you are interested in seeing how I do that, how I set up those rehearsals, there are pre-recorded or recorded lessons in the Music Educators Creating Online Learning Facebook group. So I have guest taught some elementary music lessons. Right now I am the only music teacher at our school, and we only have music in middle school and high school. I would love for there to be another music teacher and for there to be an elementary music program, and it is in my plans to push for one day, but right now I'm kind of maxed out with what I'm doing. But I do get the opportunity to at least guest teach for some of the elementary level, and so most of what I've done is kind of science of sound, or kind of make your own instrument kind of activities. This is going to be newer, but I wanted to try something, and I think can make it work. Teaching virtually is all about getting creative and not doing things the same way you have done them before, and that's kind of the overwhelming part, but the part that I really do love about it. So the other thing I do is also direct the International Music Education Summit Virtual Honor Band, so definitely check that out, especially if you are looking to do some professional development. The IMES conference is in June, and it's completely online, and it is a really great opportunity to learn. I've done it for the past 3 years, and so definitely check that out if you're interested. At this moment, my school is still open and running, so I am still teaching every day, and so please be patient if you have questions. If you're sending me emails or DMs on Instagram or messages on Facebook, or you're tagging me in things, I'm trying to get to everything as soon as I can, but please understand that I am teaching a full school day, then trying to help out after and before, and so I do really want to get to you, but it might take me a day or 2 or 3 depending on what you ask. So it is really great for my students to still have some sort of normalcy, but there are also a lot of challenges that they're experiencing, and I am, so we're all in this together for sure. And then if you want to connect with me, I spend most of my time on Instagram. This is actually like the most time I've spent on Facebook probably in like 2 or 3 years, but my main jam is Instagram, so I'm at the Musical Rose underscores in between, or you can visit my website, themusicalrose.com. Alright, so let's jump in. Today I am going to show you how you might have live music with your elementary students. So I just ask that you keep an open mind. This is not going to be a direct correlation to what you're used to. And this, you may think that this is a really awesome idea, but it's not going to work for your students, and that's totally fine too. I'm just showing you one way that you could possibly think about doing this, okay? So just keep an open mind. Also, please keep an open mind too about my teaching approach. I am not normally trained in Kadai or Orff, and I don't hardcore subscribe to those. I love all of my elementary music teacher friends because they're super passionate, especially the ones that, I talked to before this. I talked to a bunch of my Kadai friends just to make sure I was, on the right track, but please forgive me if I do something not quite aligned with what your teaching philosophy is. You can adapt this to however is going to work for you. So just gotta throw that out there. I did teach K2 music in brick and mortar, but that was like way back in year 1 for me. So my jam is mostly high school students who show up to music appreciation at 8:15 in the morning. Like, that's the thing I really love. I know that's not the thing that everyone loves, and I have so much respect for elementary music teachers, but please don't eat me alive. I'm doing the best I can, okay? All right, so this lesson, just want to set these expectations up front. It is not going to show you how you can hear all of your students at once with excellent sound quality. So this is going to be a creative way for you to have a lesson, but as of right now, there is no technology available that you can have all your students in one room and be able to hear them all at one time, just like you're in a classroom. Is that technology coming eventually? Yes, it is. How many years we're away from that, I don't know, but it's not here right now, so we have to work with what we have right now. This is also not going to replace the experience of singing in person. So my students all have opportunities where they can still go and see their fellow classmates face to face. I was actually planning an activity for my virtual band and virtual choir students to be able to meet up and make music together. And it got canceled, unfortunately, too, along with everything else. So even though I do teach at a virtual school, there is so much merit to doing things in person. We still do things in person, so this is not going to be a direct replacement, but it is going to be something that you can give your students and allow them to make music in some way until we can get back with them. All right. Now, why should you have a virtual live lesson? You know, why shouldn't you just send out videos or, you know, give activities in Google Classroom or whatever? So if it is possible to give a live lesson, and I know it's not, I know there are huge equity issues that are being discussed, I totally acknowledge that. I'm very lucky that my school, a full-time virtual school of kids, come with demonstrated need and they don't have a computer or they don't have a printer or they don't have access to the internet. My school has things in place to provide whatever they need. But I know that's not the case everywhere. So this is a kind of very depending on your situation. But if you are in a situation where your admin is requiring you to teach live or your students are already set up to be able to access technology at home, then this is a great thing to do. So why have a lesson? It gives kids structured music instruction. So even videos, you know, you can't really see kids, can't really see what they're doing. You won't be able to hear them. You don't know if they're doing them. I know, you know, there are plenty of times where I will put up a video, a training video. Oh, don't tell my admin this, and then, you know, click and do something else, but it's still running. I'm still, you know, doing what I need to. We've all been there, I'm just gonna say. And so this live lesson ensures that your kids are here and they're looking at you and they're learning in a way that you have designed and that you want. You can also help kids in real time, especially with tech issues. So with the younger kiddos, be difficult sometimes even if you just want them to, like, you know, do these 3 things with this interactive, you know, Flipgrid video or whatever. If you can get them into a live lesson, you know, you can kind of help them. You can show them exactly where to click. This is a great opportunity to say, okay, and we're not going to meet for another week, but here is what you can do in the meantime. And you can show them exactly, you can share your screen, show them exactly where to click. And so it kind of takes out that, like, all right, hopefully the, you know, parent or household member will be able to show them, you know, how to do this. So there's value in that. And then lastly, and I think this is the most important thing, is that it creates community. So being here with all these music teachers, you know, every, you know, couple of days I've done these live lessons, and it just warms my heart every time I get to be in here with you all, you know, because it's great. I mean, I love being surrounded by my favorite kind of people, music teachers. And so it's the same thing. Your kids will get to come in and see their classmates and make music and form this community of lifelong music learners and lovers And so I think that is really the biggest positive of live virtual lessons. Just yesterday when we had rehearsal, when my kiddos came in for band rehearsal, we just, kind of talked about what was going on, and then we made a little bit of music, and it was just something, for kids to do that feels normal and that lifts them up and that, reminds them that they're not alone in this. So if you can do a virtual live lesson, I say go for it. Now, some of you may have done virtual live lessons. We're kind of farther in the week and may be feeling a little bit panicked. So I'm going to give you a few tips, pointers, and how-tos. I think we're getting to the point where a lot of us have a lot of us have the resources. A lot of us have signed up for the websites and figured out what we're going to give students, but now we need to learn the how. And so virtual teaching is a whole different skill set from in-person teaching, for sure. So I'm going to try to help you navigate some of this how to do this. All right, we are going to take a look at Nearpod today. Before we actually go into the lesson, I want to show you how to set it up. And in the comments in the Facebook Live, I have put a copy of my Nearpod lesson all to have, so you don't have to create it from scratch. It's pretty basic, but you will have something and you can change it any way you want. I'm going to do that there are two settings in Nearpod. So first is the live lessons. And so these, if you set it in live lesson mode, students' slides and activities will move when you do. So if you move to the next slide, all of your kids, no matter where they are, all my kids are all over the state of North Carolina, all of their screens move at the same time. It is the best because I know that they're all looking at the same thing at the same time. Now, there's also student paced, where students can move on their own. I recommend giving both. Why? Because some students, so I record all of my lessons because I know not all students will be able to make it live. And so the students who are here and live with me do the live lesson, but I also give a link to the student-paced one. And I'll show you exactly what I have on my slide to kind of delineate it. But that way, students who watch recordings can also have the opportunity to follow along. The live lessons kind of expire after you've done them live, but the student-paced ones I think stay available for like 30 days or something like that, so students can go in and follow along with your lesson. You just got to make sure that if a student is going to watch a recording, you tell them you have to click along if you're watching the recording. Okay, so now I'm going to real quick show what it looks like in Nearpod. Just give me 1 minute. Okay. I'll move everybody out of here for a moment. So so if you go into your library here, that's where I'm starting from. I have my Doggie Doggie lesson, and so you can see here there's a live lesson option and a student-paced option. And so before you get into class and you're going to do this, I highly recommend setting this up so that way you can just easily copy and paste links or codes. So there's kind of two ways to be able to share these things out, or that I choose to share them out. And I'll show you how to do that in a moment. But to start a live lesson, you'll just click live lesson, and I've already started this for this session, so you can click resume to do that. And then student paced, again, I've set one up already and it says the days remaining. And so you can, so if you do have Google Classroom, you can share it. So if you're saying, students who didn't catch the live lesson, here's the recording, you can share it, and here's the Nearpod link that you need. You can share that as well. So I just use the links because that is what works in my classroom. You can kind of play around what will work in your own. But I have these set up in advance so that way I don't have to scramble and kind of click through all these things when I am trying to get my lesson started. So now I'm going to go ahead and show you what students are going to see when I start getting them set up for the lesson. So this will be where we actually start. So this is the actual teaching part. So I might say, so after maybe I do a brief intro, if you want to use this slide, I highly recommend. So this is the slide that I had up at the beginning. And I know these are a lot of words for elementary schoolers, so please, like I said, have not taught elementary school in a long time, so I know you all are elementary music geniuses. You can translate it into language that your students would understand. But I think the main thing is to put something up here where if they cannot hear something, instead of you frantically typing in the chat, there's already something here for them to look at. So they just have to click on this and then click on test speaker and microphone, because you will always have one or two kids when it's their first time getting into Zoom that can't hear anything because it's not set up correctly. So having this on this first slide can be very, very helpful. Also, I always start 2 minutes after class time just to allow for tech issues. And I try to have something that they can do while they wait. And so today I was sharing, some calming music. In order to share music, so stop real quick. If you go to share, and so the people who are on Facebook Live can see this. People who are not, who are here in Zoom, I'm sorry, there isn't a way for me to show you both at the same time, but you can see in the Facebook Live later. If you click on share and then make sure that share computer sound is clicked, that will enable you to be able to share music or, some sort of ethereal sound or something like that that's kind of calming. Or if you want to share, music that you have sung in the past, if you want students to kind of perk up and, maybe sing along, that is something that you can do. Okay, the other thing, when students enter, and when everybody came into the room today, you would probably notice that the default was that your camera was on, but your sound is off. And so I know you probably want to hear kids, and you're like, oh, if I can have all my kids, in Zoom, just have all their sound on, and they'll just raise their hand when they want to speak. And that is not typically what works well, because there's sounds that are happening, and maybe there's background noise, or maybe a kid is shouting out because they've been in Zoom before. And so I highly recommend keeping all kids on mute with their video cameras on, and you manually turning their mics on. So you can if you look at participants, so if you take out the participants tab, you can see that you can unmute people here. You can also turn on or turn off their videos. And so I recommend, having students actually raise their hand and then telling them, okay, wait a minute, I am going to unmute you so you can talk. So that way you're not shouting over your students. And so that's kind of a pro tip for classroom management. Have your kids on mute, and it will feel very strange at first, kind of just shouting into the void. Right now it's just me and my computer, and I know you're all there, but all you can hear is my husband preparing his dinner and my dog, who is maybe not in trouble, hopefully. It will be disorienting for you not to hear kids, but I promise you it will make your lessons go a lot smoother. Okay, so now how to get into Nearpod. So there are 2 ways to do this, and you can decide what's going to be easier for your students. So you can tell them to go to join.nearpod.com and then give them this code, depending on how well they can type. Or you can give them a direct link in the chat. And so I am going to put this link in the chat, in the Zoom chat, so you can see it here. And so if they click on this link, it should open up exactly where they need to be. There are sometimes issues with that where it does not work, and so that's why I try to have both. For my kids and for the virtual classroom system that we use, I use Zoom and something else called Black Collaborate, and so it enables me to actually open links up in their browsers, but as far as I know, Zoom cannot do that. So again, decide what's going to be best for your students. Now, everybody who is in this Zoom lesson, I need you to actually get into Nearpod for sure. Also, if you're watching the live stream, you can join. This is gonna max out. So I think it's 75 people it max out at. So if you don't get in, I will still be screen sharing so you can see what it is. And then, like I said earlier, I have an option for students who are watching the recording. And so I always say, okay, so I need you to go to join.nearpod.com and enter code blah, 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 blah. Now, if you are watching the recording, so anyone who is here right now, I need you to close your ears, and this is what you don't listen to. If you are watching the recording, please go to this and use this separate code because you are not here right now. Explain to students. And so once they kind of get that, once you do this once or twice, kind of have that expectation set, and it should be a little bit easier. So when you get into Nearpod, I have a starter question. Let me just, I'm gonna reshare my screen for it to be a little bit easier to see. And so you do not have to share your video right now, but I will have you turn on your videos in a bit. Okay. And so I just shared my whole screen. Now, if you are in Zoom and it made you where you can't see anything, you can't see your Nearpod screen anymore, if you press the escape key, it will allow you to see that. So this is the student view. And so I always have something for students to do once they get into Nearpod, because sometimes it takes some kids a little bit longer than others. So just like having a bell ringer. And so this one, I decided to do a how are you feeling? And so if your students can't read a lot of words yet, you can say, if you need help, click on the picture in the top right with the doggies on it, and that will bring up a bigger, it will enlarge it, make it bigger, and so you can just choose the number and the picture of the dog that explains how you're feeling right now, and then tell them, okay, so I find the number, and then press submit. This is something I just have up while you're waiting. You can use language that your students would best understand. If you are in Zoom, go ahead and do that. And while I'm having you all do that, I'm going to show you what it looks like on my side. So again, I think it's good to kind of have something to check in with students emotionally, because you'll be able to see what students are seeing. Nearpod is lagging just a little bit, I'm sure, because they've had an influx of people. Okay, but I'm going to show you what you will see on. So you can see everyone's names who have logged in. You can see the amount of people who have logged in and who is currently, sorry, I'm gonna call you two out. I'm sorry, but you can see who currently has this screen pulled up and who has clicked away from it. So that is a very convenient feature of Nearpod if you want to make sure your kids are, here. So anything. Okay, yeah, so after you answer the question, you're gonna have to wait because I haven't moved on yet. So I'm seeing some of you say you're stuck, and so that's good. You can't move on, and that's how I set it up, because it is live, so your students can't just plow through what's happening. They have to wait. So again, this kind of gives you an idea, and then you can see what how students are responding. You can also hide student names if you would like to kind of show generally how students are, but you don't want to show names. Or the other thing you can do is press share, and so that will share out on student screens the answers that people put in. So those are just a couple of things, and so that is again just kind of a good activity, something kind of low risk, doesn't really require an answer to get students started. Yes, and so the best way to kind of do this is definitely on a desktop. It does get a little bit more complicated if you're using Nearpod and Zoom at the same time. Nearpod does have an app that you can kind of do both. So you might just have to play around with that. Okay, so now we're gonna get to the actual singing part, the part you have been waiting for. So let me show you what I'm gonna do. So you can see here on my screen, I have these arrows. I'm going to press the next arrow, and that is going to bring up the next activity. And so this activity, I'm going to tell students, okay, you're going to listen to me sing, and you're going to try to find a picture of what you think I am singing about. And so this question will pop up. If you want to moderate what students are putting on the board, you can. Again, use your discretion. I am going to click no because I trust you all to go ahead and be appropriate. So, and I tell students, okay, in order to find a picture, you're going to click on this blue box down here, and then you can type. And so I'm going to be singing about a dog. I won't say that to students, obviously, but it is something, that they can probably spell. Okay, so I will stop sharing this screen, and I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, so you can come back and see my face as I sing if you'd like. I'm going to give myself a starting note. Okay, so listen to me sing and see if you can find a picture of what I am singing about. Here we go. Listen first. Doggie, doggie, where's your bone? Someone stole it from your home. All right. Think about that. I'm going to sing it one more time. And start thinking about what you think it is I'm singing about. Doggie, doggie, where's your bone? Someone stole it from your home. Okay, go back to Nearpod and see if you can find a picture of what I am singing about in the song we're going to learn today. All right, and so lots of kids will, pick pictures of dogs. There might be some delay, but a lot more are displayed. Okay, so like I said, there might be a little bit of delay on their end. Nearpod is, here we go, Nearpod is a little bit overwhelmed. Okay, so I see lots of doggies and lots of bones. That is correct. All right, so I am going to sing it again. And I want you to listen and follow along with the words on your screen. Here we go. Listen. Doggie, doggie, where's your bone? Someone stole it from your home. All right, so let's see if you can sing it with me. And you can teach this however you normally teach singing. Since we're all professionals, I'm going to go ahead and kind of fast forward this. So try singing it with me. And so you're not going to unmute yourselves. And so if you want to see all of your students, you can stop sharing and you can see all of your students in gallery view. So if you click on Zoom and click on gallery view, if you're on your laptop computer, you'll be able to see, I think it's up to 49 people at one time, as long as it's maximized. So that is how you can kind of see all your students. So let's try to sing this together. I should have moved my keyboard a little bit closer. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, ready, sing. Doggie, doggie, where's your bone? Someone stole it from your home. Oh, look. Okay, so didn't hear anything out loud, but I saw all of your mouths moving. Now, can you guarantee that kids are singing with 100% pitch accuracy? No. Like I said, this is not going to replace an in-person experience. However, you can easily see kids are participating without having lots of a cacophony of sound hitting you. Okay? All right, so now what I want you to do is tap the steady beat with me. So you can choose how you want to tap the steady beat. You might tap here, you might pat your knees, but whatever you do, it is up to you. So let's tap the steady beat together. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, sing. Doggie, doggie, where's your bone? Someone stole it from your home. Okay, look at all those beautiful steady beat people. Yes. And so, all right, so now we can say, all right, we're tapping the steady beat. Now what I want you to do is I want you to point along to the heartbeats. Now, I don't want you to touch your screen. Don't touch your screen, okay? You can point along. Someone recommended to in one of the groups that I am in, one of my Kadai friends recommended like maybe students could find, you know, something that they have in their homes and kind of make, you know, line it up with the hearts or, you know, be able to manipulate it. And so that's definitely a possibility if you want to have students do that. And if you're worried about them touching your screen, I touch my screen all the time. I try to point at things. I know when my students can't see it, but I still have a habit of doing it even after a while. So I like to, you might want to make your mouse a little bit bigger. So for Mac, if you go into System Preferences and then go into Accessibility, or just, I know, okay, I looked this up beforehand and I did not practice it enough times. So I believe it's under, what is it, display? No, it is under, this is what you do when you don't practice. So always practice what you're going to do. Oh, accessibility, here it is. I knew it was somewhere. Okay, and then display. And so you can make your cursor a little bit bigger so students can see it a little bit more easily. You can say, follow along with me. I want you to point on your computer screen, don't computer screen. And you can go ahead and watch my arrow and we'll do it together. Here we go. 1, 2, point and sing. Doggie, doggie, where's your bone? Someone stole it from your home. Okay, now is this perfect? No, I'm sure if I had an actual mouse and not using my trackpad, it would be a little bit easier. But it at least gives students, you know, lets them see that a little bit bigger. Okay, so let's keep moving. And so now we are going to do a question. And so I will say, okay, now that we've done this a couple of times, think about how many sounds or syllables are in the first heartbeat on doggy. You can put your hand under your chin. How many times does your chin move? Doggy. So you are going to go into Nearpod and you are going to answer this question. So you're going, and I always put a timer on it so that way you are giving students appropriate wait time. Wait time is super awkward in the virtual environment because there is nothing. You cannot hear kids, you can kind of see them, but it is just way weird. So use timers. That will hold you accountable to wait time because I promise you, if you don't use a timer, you're not going to give your kids enough time. So for this, I'm going to give them 1 minute and 30 seconds. And so they'll have the answer for 1, 2, 3, or 4. You could also have kids come back into Zoom and say, okay, hold up your finger. 1, 2, 3, or 4. How many syllables or sounds or whatever wording you usually use are in the word doggy? So in Nearpod, I'm going to go ahead and press start activity. Remember to get out of full screen share on Zoom. Just press the escape key. So it will count down for students and they'll have, you know, whatever time. And say all you have to do is choose your answer and then don't forget to press the blue button, the submit button in the bottom right. How many sounds or syllables? So if you need to see a reminder, you can click on this picture in the top right. That displays it a little bit bigger. All right, awesome. So again, this gives appropriate wait time because I don't know if you've ever waited 1 minute and 30 seconds doing nothing, but it feels like it might be an eternity. But for students, think about, you know, they have to think about it. They have to, okay, say, all right, what number am I going to choose? They have to remember to press the blue submit button. So this helps you to give them appropriate wait time. It also prevents you from waiting for every student to respond because yes, we want every student to respond, but because they're here virtually, you know, you don't know if they turn off their video and you can't see them, they might have had to run to the bathroom or they might, you know, someone in their household might have asked them to do something. Be flexible with your kids if they're not all participating. You know, do the best you can. For me, for my students, they are expected to kind of be here. And so sometimes I will say, okay, I haven't heard from XYZ. But again, I would say in this period of time, give your students grace. If they're participating in Nearpod, great. If they're missing a couple things, that's okay too for now. Okay, so then when time runs out, this is what students will see. And then if you want to say, okay, it looks like we all came up with the same answer, you can press share. And again, bring up this on all of your student screens. And so then you can talk about this. Okay, this is the way the words go. Let's try singing it again. And I want you to look at the way the words go. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, sing. Doggie, doggie, where's your bone? Someone stole it from your home. And then you can go into whatever you usually like to do at this point in your lesson regarding rhythm. But this gives this visual display. Students can see it, you know, on your screen when it's shared. They can also see it on their side in Nearpod. And so then you can go through the same process with the singing, the game part of this. So, who has my bone? I have your bone. Whatever you want to do for that, you can do that as well. Same thing. If you want to, I didn't add a question about, you know, syllables or all that. Those of you who are annotating, I just asked you to stop. So yes, some of you have annotation privileges. I keep that on for my students regularly, but I recommend you turn them off, especially if your students are not used to that. So that way you don't have students working your screen. Okay. So then you might say, okay, this is what it looks like, you know, do we remember and TTs or whatever you are at here? Okay, so we might sing it again. I'm gonna skip that for now. And then, okay, let's say the rhythm together. Let's go ahead and we are gonna tap the city beat, so you can clap or tap, however you wanna do it, and we will say the tas and TTs together. So here we go, 1, 2, say it with me. T, 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 ta. T, 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 ta. However you want to teach it, that's fine. Setting students up to get to this activity here. Okay, coming back to Nearpod if you're not here. So this gives your students a chance to interact and write with the activity. And so what I really like is that every student will see this. So it's not just going to be the first student that responds or the first student that raises their hand. Every student will see this. So there isn't a way to put a timer on this one. So I usually say, okay, go ahead and do this. I'm going to give you XYZ time. And so it's already defaulted to, you know, being a tool that they can draw with. So they'll just go ahead and draw, and then you can see on your end once they submit how your students are doing. So you can kind of do a quick assessment of, you know, if they're getting the concept or not, and what you might do to remedy that. You might say, oh, so-and-so has done a really awesome job. I'm going to share this example out, and so that way you can see, okay, this is so-and-so did a great job filling in these missing rhythms. All right, so that is how you might do the missing rhythms. Now, I know I'm running short on time, so I'm trying to get to the singing part, the singing game part, the part that you are waiting for. Okay, so here we are going to play a singing game. We're going to try it, okay? So let's play a game. We're going to have doggy number 1 and doggy number 2. So doggy number 1 will turn around. Yes, I'm going to have you actually turn around in your house like this until I say turn back around, okay? Doggy number 2, I'm going to choose you. And so doggy number 1 is going to sing "Has my bone," and doggy number 2, "I have your bone." You don't have to worry about turning your microphone on. I'm going to do that with you. Everybody is going to sing this part together. Even if you can't hear everyone singing, we're going to sing it all together. So here we go. Let's review this one more time. We're going to sing all the parts. So here we go. 1, 2, ready, sing. Doggy, doggy, where's your bone? Someone stole it from your home. Then if you're doggy number 1, here's what you're going to sing. Let's try it. Ready, and who has my bone? Okay, and if you're doggy number 2, here's what you're going to sing. I have your Okay, and then once that's all done, I will say doggy number 1, turn around. And you will guess who stole their bone. Okay, so how are you going to choose, kids? And how are we going to do this in here? We're actually going to play this. So here we go. I chose some names of people who signed up in the Facebook group. So I will take volunteers for this, but random name. I am going to say, all right, here we go. We are going to choose the first doggy number 1. And the first doggy number 1 is Siobhan. Siobhan, are you actually in here? If you are, let me know in the chat. I don't know if you are. If you're not, someone let me know in the chat if you're willing to participate as doggy number 1. Anybody? Just say, yes, I will be doggy number 1. I volunteer as tribute. Okay, great. Kristen, you're going to be doggy number 1. So when we get to the who has my bone, you will sing that. I will unmute you. You don't have to do anything, okay? All right, now we're gonna choose doggy number 2. So doggy number 1, Zoom. So I don't know all of you and your faces, but you know your students. So Kristen, I'm gonna ask you to turn around. Yep, and so you're gonna stay turned around. All right, here we go. We're gonna choose doggy number 2. So we're gonna see the name. Your name comes up, you're gonna be doggy number 2. And so I am going, so Jennifer Lee. Okay, so you are going to be our doggy number 2, but here's what you can do for your kids. So you can say, okay, here's doggy number 2. Don't put their name in the chat. Don't say it out loud. We're gonna pick doggy number 2. So whoever it is, you can ignore that, and so it pops up and it says, okay, doggy. So, all right, it's gonna be Jennifer. I will unmute you when it's your turn. Okay, so everybody, we're gonna sing together. Kristen, you're doing a great job as doggy number 1. Don't turn around yet. So here we go. 1, 2, everyone sing. Doggy, doggy, where's your bone? Someone stole it from your home. Okay. Wait, sorry, Jennifer, I can't get to you quick enough. Okay, here you go. Go for it. I have your bone. Okay, doggy number 1, turn around. All right, and then you would take your guess. So who do you think it is? And then you can unmute the kid. It was Jennifer Lee. It was Jennifer Lee. But then you can play that as many times as you want with your kiddos. And so that way you are controlling the sound, first of all. You are to play the game, maybe not in the traditional way, but still, you know, especially if you played Doggie Doggie with your kids before, like literally when I taught my kids that in K2, that is all that they wanted to play, no matter how many cool singing games I taught them. They just like loved that I had a little doggy stuffed animal. And so you could even take out your little doggy puppet or animal and, you know, have that with you. Okay, so one last thing. So you can play that anytime you want, as many times as you want. Okay, one last thing in Zoom. We're going to just do one more kind of extension activity to give students an opportunity to create themselves. So we've done the performing kind of aspect, and now we're going to get into creating. So let me show you how we're going to do it. And like I said, Nearpod people, if you press the escape bar, or press B. Okay. So you try. You can create your own rhythm. So draw one TT, or if you want to use doggy, or one ta in each heart. Here, I'm going to show you an example. Okay, so this is my rhythm. So you can tell your students, let's practice it. So you're going to practice your rhythm, use your steady beat, and you can say use TT and ta, use doggy and bone. So TT ta, TT ta, or doggy bone, doggy bone. Can I have a volunteer who would like to read their rhythm that they came up with? And so you can ask your kiddos, volunteer, tell me in the chat if you would be willing to read your rhythm that you came up with. You can either use TT ta or doggy bone. Okay, Mr. J, I see you're waving at me. Okay, so up. So it's not letting me unmute your video for some reason, or audio. And so this is things that will happen when you try to do things. So you can say, if you can unmute your own video or audio, go ahead, I give you permission. Go for it. Awesome, thank you for sharing. And then we can, do silent applause or clap or whatever you want. So that gives you, thank you, Mr. J, you rock. So that gives your students an opportunity to create and to share, just a small, creation or composition. Doesn't need to be super complex, but still getting those skills in there that you really want your students to know. Okay, so that is essentially my lesson in a nutshell. And you can also, share out any students' rhythms and all that. So that's kind of my creative way to be able to get some musical skills in there, play a musical game in, in Nearpod and Zoom. So with that, I am going to now take questions from Zoom. So if you are asking me questions on Facebook, I am going to get to that. Okay, so what if you don't have access to Nearpod? So Nearpod is free, even outside of COVID-19, pandemic times. So there is like a free version of Nearpod that's really awesome, and I'm pretty sure everything that I did today was in the free version. There are some really cool tools that are in the paid version. I think they're offering, don't quote me on this, but I think they are offering more, or their paid version. I know they definitely offer a 30-day free trial too. So definitely check that out. Like I said, the link to the Nearpod that I created today is in the Facebook, so you can click on that and it will give you a copy of exactly what I showed you today. Is Nearpod FERPA compliant? Yes, Nearpod and Zoom are FERPA and COPPA compliant. COPPA. I don't know if that's how you pronounce that, but both of them are, because they don't require student login, they don't store student data, that kind of thing. So they are both, and it's great because you don't have to create accounts for your students to do either. You just need to give them links. How do you create slides in Nearpod? So I create them in PowerPoint or Keynote first, and then I upload them to Nearpod. You can also create slides directly in Nearpod if you would like. I'll show you real quick. So if you just go to lesson in Nearpod, you can drag any files here. So any pictures, PowerPoints, or PDFs, you can, if you have some already made, you can put it right into Nearpod. You don't have to recreate the wheel, which is what I love. Okay. Do you let your students have free reign over comments in Zoom? What do you do to keep students from posting silly things in the chat? So if you are having that issue, I recommend just turning off the chat and just saying, I will unmute you when it's your turn. And if you want to have discussions, use the collaborate tool in Nearpod. So that way students can still type things in, still have a discussion. There's also open-ended questions in Nearpod. Also setting expectations from the outset. So you will say, you don't call out in class when we're in class together. So you don't type in the chat until I ask you to, or you can send me a private message. There are a few things that you can set up, but set the expectations just like you do in your classroom, because if students don't have those expectations, they're just going to do whatever they want. I highly recommend taking away kind of every permission, especially for your first couple of live classes. Like, when I first started, there was like nothing. Like, I had nothing because I was just trying to focus on like the technology not failing. But you can slowly add things in, create as much structure as you need or your students need. So if they're abusing chat privileges, just turn the chat function off and they can earn that back. If your students keep turning on the mics, there's a way to set it where you're the only one that chooses that. I highly recommend setting it where students come in automatically, mics muted, videos on. So that way, kind of, you don't have to be telling students, hey, shut your mics off, shut your mics off. How do I do that? It's kind of automatically there. Do I have some Zoom tips and tricks that I mentioned? Yes. So on Instagram, I did a series, a 3-part series, classroom management in Zoom. Definitely check that out. I put in the pictures, and so you don't even need to be on Instagram to be able to see that. If you just search for the_musical_rose, I have a 3-part series that says classroom management in Zoom, and it shows you all the features that I recommend turning on and off. I am going to hopefully post more about Zoom. Like I said, I'm still teaching full-time as I'm trying to help you all out, and I love you all. I want to help as much as possible, but I have only so many hours. If I could clone myself, I would. So if you look at the posts that I have on Instagram and your questions are still not answered, I can definitely, answer anything. Let's see. Do student responses in Nearpod automatically get saved? Yes. So if your school is requiring you to do some kind of assessment and show data, but if that is what your district is requiring you, you can get a report at the end of everything that students interacted with, what answers they put. There is a quiz function. There's also a game called Time to Climb, so it's a great way to assess and also turn it into a game. So definitely look at Nearpod and check out the different features, but there's plenty of ways for you to be able to assess with this if you want to, or if your district is requiring it. Can you upload your own videos as well? Yes. So in Nearpod, and I think this might be one of their premium features, but again, like I said, I'm pretty sure they're offering more features across the board, or there's at least a 30-day trial. But if you go into, sorry, this is not letting me, add activity or add web content. So I add all of my safe share videos through web content. So that way they come up as safe share, so you don't have to, rely on YouTube, because there is a way for you to add straight from, so there's BBC video and video here where you can search on YouTube, but I prefer, again, I have all my safe share videos already, so if you do add web content, that's how you can do your safe share videos. I know, Safe Share is acting super funny. You can also use Safe YouTube. Any existing Safe Share videos seem to be working. Creating new videos is where there's an issue. So if you have videos that you have used in the past on Safe Share, those should be okay. What did you do in Zoom to be able to see everyone? So for that, if you look up at the top right, it should say speaker view or gallery view. If you click on that, it will kind of toggle the two views. So to see everyone, it needs to be in gallery view. Speaker view, you'll be able to see one person in the main way. Okay, Zoom also has great tutorials on classroom management and how to set up meetings. That's awesome. I personally haven't watch them, so I've just been going off of the training that I've gotten, but if they have tutorials, definitely check them out. They probably have some things I haven't even thought of. Okay, if a student does the student speed Nearpod, do you still get the responses to the questions? Yes, you still do. So you can still get student responses even if you do student based. All right, I'm running real close to time. Okay. To access the Facebook Live video after this, is that on your Facebook page, The Musical Rose? No, it's not. Sorry, I should have been more. It's the Music Educators Creating Online Learning group. So it'll be posted in there. I'm just kind of putting things in there so that way they're in a space where people are looking for these kinds of things. All right. Okay, I think that's all the questions I see in Zoom. If you ask me questions on Facebook, I'll try to hop over there and answer them. I hope this was helpful to you. If you need help with anything, please reach out to me. Like I said, Instagram is kind of the best place to do that, but you can also send me a message on Facebook or send me an email. Thanks so much for coming out. I had a great time. I'm happy to see you all here. It feels good to have a community right here. And I'm sure your students will feel the same way. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your evening. And I'll see you over in the other spaces. Bye, all. All right, and if you are watching on Facebook Live, thank you for joining, and I will see you next time.